Hello and welcome to this evening's Q&A with the creative team behind The Black Cat, a new adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's classic novella, which is performing at the Space and having its final night tonight. Joining me this afternoon, we have on one screen Duncan Riches, the producer of Threedumb Theatre, and in the slightly more filled box, we have actor Stephen Smith and a whole range of the casting creatives. So I think, to begin, could you give us a brief introduction and say hello to everyone who's in the hall and in the room just next to me that way?
Hello, everyone. So we've got myself, Stephen. This is me over here, Eddie, Josh, and Michaela. And David isn't here. He's doing a few production tasks at the moment, so he's busy.
That's quite all right. This is a show which is still in progress and which is preparing for a show tonight. So thank you very much for your time this evening. It's very much appreciated, especially seeing the lengths you all have to go to make this show happen. We have had our first question in the chat already, and attendees, please do feel free to pop these in the chat if you have any questions for us that you'd like to know specifically about the making of the show, what inspired it, or how it's been going. The first question is, frankly, Stephen, how's it gone this week?
Yes, it's been fun. We've had a few. I mean, it's gone really well in terms of the audience and stuff. And, the connection issue probably our main little like, I think you guys are frozen, for example. But oh wait, no, you're back. Yeah, the connection issues are fine. But as a production, as a you know, an experience, it's going really well, and I think the audience are really enjoying themselves. We've had some great reviews. It's a very hard show to do because it's 50 minutes of 50 to an hour really of non-stop carnage, really, all filmed in one unedited shot, filmed on a mobile phone. So it's ambitious, and as you guys know, it travels around the whole building. Hence some connection little glitches, but you know, it's been great. Yeah. Has anyone got anything to add? Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. Can you hear Eddie?
We can't quite hear Eddie, so you may have to come a little bit closer if that's okay. Have I now frozen? Nope.
It might have gone.
That's okay. I think there's just a bit of recalibration within the Space's internet. So yes, hello. Hello, Stephen, are you with us?
Yeah, you're back now. Yeah.
Excellent. I think, as you were saying, this is testament to the hostile conditions and environment within the Space's digital facilities for creating work and indeed broadcasting anything at any given time. So I think we can hear Eddie just a little bit. We might be worth bringing the company a little bit closer to the screen if possible, but in a way that's socially distanced. Can you hear me okay?
No, you keep them breaking up.
Can you hear me, Duncan?
I can hear you fine. There's occasionally little breakups and stuff, but
I see. Perhaps what I'm going to do is I am going to
technology, eh?
Indeed, I think know this really is quite testament to the year that we've had of getting used to a brave new digital format and a brave new digital world in which anything can and will go wrong and happen across any sort of platform. So yeah, kudos to yourselves for bearing with us and bearing with this. It seems like the connection's a little bit more stable for Stephen now. We haven't lost you for a while. So I think that probably leads me on to our next question of how have you how, in having to move across to a digital medium, have you approached making work? Because this isn't the first digital performance that Threedumb have done. Can you tell us a little bit about how, over the course of the year, you've been creating new projects?
Yeah, so I mean, it all last coronavirus, pandemic, lockdown, and I mean, it all kind of took the wind out of our sails as theatre people, obviously. And I was quite, you know, I admired the efforts that a lot of people were making in terms of putting on online shows. However, I felt that the Zoom shows that I was watching were a bit unimaginative, and I just felt that if these shows didn't take place on an internet chat room, it kind of didn't make sense. So I wanted to try and get the one-shot film element involved, where, you know, actor and the cameraman or camera person has to essentially, you know, they have one shot at getting it right, just like an actual theatre production. And yeah, the first time we did this was an Edgar Allan Poe story back in May, called The Telltale Heart, and that bitty lockdown scenario, really, because it all place in one room, one house over one night, and it was all in the first person, so it made a hell of a monologue. And yeah, I want to put the audience on a bit of a pedestal and give them a good show, rather than just doing something for the sake of being busy as an actor. I want to make it a good show. And then even before the lockdown, I used to make, when I was a little kid, I used to make little, when I was like 10 years old, on a little video camera with homemade props and things around the house. So I knew going into the Telltale Heart that even if it was actually, it would do. And of course, with the live streaming element of using a mobile phone and Facebook Live, you have that live theatre experience, because it's live, and that's the element alone is the proudest, what I take most pride in regarding these shows, definitely.
Absolutely, because I think there is something about the live dynamic which is inimitable, especially in the sense that, as we can see from this alone, when it's live, anything can happen. How have you found responding to, in terms of even creating a production from scratch in a new environment, how have you found responding to the challenges that a building like the space can throw up?
Yeah, well, it's funny because unlike how I would produce theatre shows, you kind of produce, or you create shows that would fit well in any space, so that, you know, you could do it anywhere. These black box theatre studio shows that people make, lots of new writing stuff, you know, it can go anywhere, and that's the kind of point of them, really, to take it on tour eventually. However, these shows are kind of, it's like I consider the venue first, and then I think what show would fit the venue. And originally the venue was my living room during lockdown 1. So therefore Telltale Heart and the second show we did Within, which was all set in one room. But then moving forward to, yeah, the space, I mean, as you're just looking around here, because we got a slot as part of your spring season, but we didn't really know exactly what kind of show we were going to do. We just knew it was going to be in the same style, one-shot film, completely live, and it took a bit of walking around and looking around for me to fit. A cat might work here, and then from then on, it was kind of trying to fit in the story around the architecture, and using the camera shots first story, and it was exciting to be given, you know, a sort of this amazing Gothic looking venue. Yeah, so
I think one of the things that has been
I think,
oh, hello. Yes, one of the things I have found quite noticeable about this time for actors and creatives of all different stripes is how adaptable we've had to find ourselves in embracing new technology. Like something to throw over to you, Duncan, you've been stage managing this performance remotely from Liverpool, I believe. How have you found, have you had to learn any new technologies, any new skills to make this work function?
Yeah. I mean, it shows that I've actually on with to an extent, because obviously we're in lockdown, we're socially distanced, and I live in Liverpool and I'm based in Liverpool, whereas Stephen and the rest of the company are sort of all predominantly in Rickmansworth, Watford, and obviously London. So I've not been able to travel, and we've not been able to meet up or anything. And obviously being in sort of Stephen's living room and sort of local theatres and stuff, and we've kept it sort of on Facebook Live, that kind of thing. This was the first time, so it's sort of like, oh, okay, what kind of thing? Because we thought, well, we'll use Zoom, and I think we spoke to you guys about that as well, and we were like, okay, how do we manage with Zoom? And there's been a hell of a lot to learn along the way. So I know we've been using Zoom for the past. You can tweak with it so much and do all sorts of different things as well with it. So messing with the sound and stuff, because obviously you sometimes get this distorted sound and you can't hear things, but we've managed to clear that up and all sorts of different things. And that's just Zoom. So we've also had a lot of editing time as well, working with that. I've got to grips with QLab, which has become one of my new favorite things. Been really, obviously it's been a very hard year. It's been a very tough year, but in terms of making theatre and being creative, I think it's been great, because I've found new ways that I like to work, and I think Stephen may well say the same. And it's been really exciting finding these new ways and being able to watch this show every night as well. It's like the sort of behind the scenes of it all. So yeah, no, it's been tricky, but it's been a big learning curve, which has been fun.
I think that's exactly the right thing. It's something that we as a venue have found almost unimaginable. If you think about a year and a month ago, the idea that everything we do would be almost entirely based online and over these kind of entirely new mediums. It's extraordinary to see how many people have fully embraced technology and fusion in a way that Threedumb are doing. I am jumping across onto my mobile data to see if we can help expedite the situation a little bit. So if I disappear for a moment, please bear with me, but we'll have hopefully more Stephen in return. So let's see what happens. This seems to have done the trick.
Hello, I'm using the mobile hotspot now, so this should be fine.
Awesome. Yes, it seems like we've already got a little bit more stability on all sides. So thank you for everyone for bearing with us during that fully expectable Zoom hiccup. But yeah. Yeah, so Stephen, we were just talking about Liverpool as a sort of basis, because Threedumb was founded in Liverpool at LIPA, I believe.
Yes, yeah, it was. In our second year, we did a World War I play with Duncan and I playing Siegfried Sassoon and Wilfred Owen, respectively, and we toured that around our hometowns and stuff in 2016, and then the rest was history.
Fabulous. Speaking of history, I think we should actually probably address the actual subject matter itself. Let's talk a little bit about Poe. You've mentioned before that the first foray into digital theatre was The Telltale Heart, Edgar Allan Poe, all set within one space, one location. What was it about the Black Cat that attracted you to it as a story? This is a much lesser known one of Poe's compared to, say, The Telltale Heart of a Raven. What was it about it that jumped out at you? Why did you want to adapt this piece?
Well, I actually the reason why I chose we chose the Black Cat was because we didn't really, it was already there, and therefore we didn't need to adapt it at all. In terms of performing it as an actor, I want, and the creator of this kind of style of show, I kind of needed a script a finished script to figure out what to do, to learn and to fit in this space. So instead of commissioning someone to write something for this space, I just, as the Telltale Heart and the Black Cat are in the public domain, the Black Cat was kind of the next one, really, that could work. And I was attracted to the whole alcoholism comment, because Poe was a notorious alcoholic, and I mean, I've been 15 months without drinking any alcohol now, because I've faced my own demons back in 2019, really. And so in that sense, weirdly enough, even though all the horrible stuff that was happening in 2020, for me, really, the only way was up from my kind of rock bottom in 2019. So yeah, and I suppose I've always loved Edgar Allan Poe ever since I was a kid. And it was a kind of comfort zone going to this kind of genre, and this kind of, you gotta, when you're doing something so new, you gotta kind of really try out what you know, like deep down in your demented, introverted soul, which is kind of like, my childhood was full of horror and fictional horror, obviously, but like, I loved all that macabre stuff when I was this weird little kid. So, but the challenge with the Black Cat is, unlike the Telltale Heart, it takes place over many different locations and different times and stuff. It travels around quite literally. So we had to really get inventive with the use of space here to create those different moments and different points in the narrative. So the challenge of it was really attractive. And I as an actor, I felt like I wanted to perform this one, because I wanted to learn the whole short story, the 4,000 words, completely word by word, with no kind of cheats or no edits, not adapting it at all. Of course, though, I gave a line to Michaela, because unlike, I mean, we couldn't get a real cat for this one, but Michaela and Josh was originally gonna help with this production, and they both live just up the road. So, and Michaela's a fantastic actress, and I've worked with her before. So I just thought, oh wait, I could actually have a wife for this production. Quite luckily, she accepted my proposal, with Josh's blessing, of course. So that was great, though, because I mean, it is a kind of, one reviewer called it a cameo performance, which is kind of accurate, but I kind of like with this the thing is that I like the idea that this narrator, this unnamed narrator, kind of wants to silence his wife, because it's his story. I'm telling this story, I'm telling it. And when she says that one line, he gives her such a look like, excuse me. And then she never says anything for the whole thing. And I think, even that's a bit unfair on poor Michaela and her fantastic acting abilities, but But I think it kind of it's a statement on misogynism and, you know, the kind of misogynistic ways that this narrator feels towards his wife and stuff. I think it's you know, he's quite power driven, and I think that hogging the spotlight, quite literally, it says a lot about his character, really.
Absolutely.
Or does it say a lot about me? I don't really know.
No,
yeah, it's a bit...
I think that's completely fair. Like, I think I will also say Michaela's performance is absolutely astonishing, and to achieve that much impact with little dialogue is a truly tremendous performance. And for those of you who've watched it, I'm sure you will agree. For those of you who are about to watch it, I think it's important to view the logic of the narrator in the decisions behind this. Because as you say, this the narrator is not necessarily the most sympathetic character. As you say, he's a violent alcoholic and a man with a pretty brutal temper. How have you found delving into the mindset of a character like this?
Well, I suppose, I mean, I'm not you know, a method actor. There's yeah, in terms of delving into the character, the language just does so much alone, you know, just having those words to say. And because what people when watching these this Edgar Allan Poe stuff that we've been doing, like lots of people don't realize that it's originally was a short story. You know, this isn't a play. This isn't necessarily, even though it's written in a kind of theatrical way. And I'm sure you could picture him at dinner parties freaking out all of the guests by reading these, you know, to a full room in front of a fireplace and all of that kind of stuff. But in terms of the original source material, it's a short story that's meant to be read by a reader, whereas actually giving an actor these words and this language, it kind of it just takes it off the page so much. And so in terms of getting into the mind of it and everything like that, I mean, yeah, it's all pretend. I don't really, like, you know, I don't really do much kind of method acting in that kind of sense. I just try and pretend like I'm furious and demonic and everything. It's you know,
absolutely.
I feel like it's a lot more. So it's a lot more impressive, I find, because, you know, if you're a Hollywood movie millionaire, you know, if you're Daniel Day-Lewis, if you're Robert De Niro, and you're getting a Hollywood movie salary for getting into character over months, and then, you know, being so in your character nonstop, fair enough. But I think it's a lot more impressive to get, you know, into your character for that one show and then come out of it and have a chat with your mates afterwards, and just as if, you know, you're just back to normal. I feel like that's a lot more how I want to be as an actor, rather than you know, in character all the time.
Absolutely. And like, I will say it's testament that every time I hear like noise outside of rehearsals from the company, it's always laughter, it's always pleasant, and you are the opposite of a belligerent alcoholic. You're a charming teetotaler. So yeah, kudos for that suspension of performance. We've had a couple of questions from the chat, which I will go ahead and ask you. Joe asks, will Threedumb explore any other types of genre apart from Gothic horror? And will you explore new writing in contemporaneous settings to address current social issues?
Well, yeah, we were having a chat, me and Eddie, on the way here. We were having a chat about doing a comedy because it's such a lonely. See, the genre part of that question, the genre part. I feel like the in-your-face kind of shaky camera, kind of distorted narrator looking down the barrel of the camera kind of stuff really works for horror. But that's not to say it can't work for comedy or something else. But I feel like the kind of style of digital show that we do is more of the horror, you know, from a filmmaking aspect. I feel it's more suited to horror. But I was also saying in the car that it's such a as an actor, it's a lonely thing, really, because you don't, an audience is there, but you don't hear any kind of affirmation at all. You don't hear the murmur of them walking into the theatre. You don't hear any laughter when something funny happens. So, and there's a few funny moments in this, but you don't hear it. It's a very lonely experience. So I can't wait to get back to normal theatre work.
I was going to say that there are some moments
in terms
of pure comedy genius within the show. Like you have a fantastic section of interacting with a dog and getting yourself tangled up in the middle of a bustling street. One of my favorite moments of anything I've seen over the last year is the one involving a cat and a bedsheet, and I can't say any more than that without spoiling it. There are these wonderful comedic touches even within this pitch black Edgar Allan Poe adaptation. So yeah, maybe it's a case that these elements are already there. It's just not necessarily within that being the focus of the genre storytelling you're doing.
Yeah, totally. And I think horror is quite funny anyway. I try not to take these shows too seriously. And in the same way, when I watch a horror film, you get scared, but you kind of laugh about it afterwards. And I think that kind of comes across with this. In terms of the new writing and making things relevant, I mean, unfortunately, with everything going on in the news recently, in terms of femicide and everything, without spoiling too much about the Black Cat, it's unfortunately quite a bit of a hot topic at the moment. And the fact that this guy clearly, he gets away with treating his wife so badly, and worse, later on, as well as animals. In terms of relevance, I mean, you don't need to do new writing to make things relevant. Not that I certainly didn't intend to make the Black Cat relevant in that sense. It's unfortunate that it is, and that the spotlight, has taken so long to really shine on this very serious problem that has been, a serious problem for a while. So yeah, but new writing, yeah, would love to do new writing. It's just gotta fit the venue, fit the shots, fit the one shot, So it's tricky. Yeah, but I'd love to. I mean, Jekyll and Hyde was written for the our style, so it can be done. Yeah, just need to get bashing brains for the next one and figure out, find a script.
Yeah, I think it's also worth just mentioning, if I can jump in there, that in the past we've done all sorts of different shows, and one thing that unfortunately we weren't able to do this year, but last year we host a new writing festival called 6 Plays 1 Day at the Threedumb Theatre, which is 6 new plays done in a day. And through that we've connected with a lot of new writers and that kind of thing. And I believe, I don't know if they performed at the 6 Plays 1 Day, but one of the things I can't remember when it was filmed exactly, it might have been a couple of months ago, we've actually released, just for 1 week only, a new writing piece online that was filmed in Zoom, just a sort of a reading kind of thing. It's called Paper, Gold and Ashes, and it's about the New York, I think it's this shirtwaist factory fire, which happened years ago, written by someone who we've worked with. So it's definitely something that I think we like to consider and look at, and like, so we've got lots of writers who've worked with Threedumb. So it's yeah, like Stephen said, it's marrying what can we do on film with new writing, and not just doing it for the sake of it, not just going, oh, let's do some new writing because everyone else is doing that, and like and are we the right people to tell that story as well? Like, it's got to be right for us as well. But yeah, just to answer that.
No, I think that makes perfect sense. Like, in many ways, having the sort of pre-existing structure of a story or an inspiration can sometimes be a bit more freeing than just having a completely blank canvas and world as your oyster, than having infinite possibilities, if that makes sense. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what you have coming up next. We've had a question coming in from Hatter. You've had 3 performances already this week. How has the show developed, altered, or advanced as the week has progressed?
Well, I don't know. Let me flip it to the crew behind me, see if they might have to come a bit closer or raise your voice, see if there's any. How has the show progressed over the week?
Well, last night we didn't have nearly Wi-Fi. Whereas, like, we've got a crowd mix, it starts on the opposite side of the street, and we come in and, spoilers, but obviously we have issues with, because of the Wi-Fi and how far it is. And there was the second night we had to stop halfway through right at the start because we completely disconnected. Last night was good. We got across the road. We did the whole show, but yeah, I think it's we only started rehearsing last week.
Yeah, we got in on Wednesday, and.
Josh turned up. It was all, we were all sort of finding ourselves.
Yeah. It's been interesting in that we've identified little problems and fixed them in between each show. And one of the things with doing a show like this is that none of us really see what the audience are seeing apart from the cameraman. So until we watch the recording afterwards, we don't really know. We can't really do notes straight after the show because we haven't seen it. So yeah. It's kind of slows the process up a bit, really, in terms of tweaking things and getting things exactly right. But it's a really interesting way of doing things.
Yeah, with the amount of time as well, because we've had really about 5 days to block this all, and I suppose it kind of maybe it was Monday that we kind of did the first run of it, kind of non-stop and with everyone here, and it was at a good place, and then the first night was pretty seamless in terms of any problems and stuff. It hasn't really changed as much. There's just been like external forces that have namely the Wi-Fi gods that have been smiting us every now and then, but that's the nature of the beast, and bless the audience on Wednesday, when the show went up about 14 minutes late, not one of them dropped out of the feed and everything. They very patiently waited, and they all had a great time as far as we're aware. So yeah, it's just how it is sometimes. That happens in a normal theatre setting sometimes. Sometimes the show goes up quite late. You never know.
But the weather's another one. The weather's been very lucky to us. But considering that some of the elements of the show actually happen outside, if it was really raining hard, we would probably have in trouble with some of those. But fingers crossed, it's been okay.
Yeah, I think that's the last thing we want on the final night of a partly outdoor show for the weather to. I mean, it would look incredibly gothic. You have to say that, but how did they get the rain to do that? Well.
Yeah.
And I think as well within that, you've had to be absolutely meticulous in terms of assessing the site, in terms of assessing each shot as you go through it, purely because you don't have the chance of cutting out or editing any elements that appear. You have to edit almost on the fly as you're seeing things, as camera people, as performers, as designers. How have you found that as a creative team in assessing it?
Well, I suppose it's been because I had a few site visits, as you know, Matthew, before the rest of the team kind of turned up, and what I had to do really was kind of turn up with a very clear idea of where, we couldn't really devise anything with these 5 days of we couldn't try things out really. We tried a lot of things out, but it's kind of like arriving with a very clear idea of where the scenes are going to take place, and and then compromising if need be. Like, for example, there was this idea, the bit after the fire, there was this idea that I had of putting some incense sticks around the place, and so we have these smoldering, billowing, bits of wood everywhere, or seemingly. But we just kind of scrapped that because we didn't need it in the end. It was, see, with these kind of shows, I always like to think that it needs to be a really good radio play at the very least. If it sounds good, then that's your lot, and the audience are going to be happy. But all of this visual stuff that we do is just bonus. And because we overload on the spectacle on these kind of things, at the end you just feel like, oh wow, like they gave us a lot there. The variety of shots, the variety of locations, lighting, music, all of that is bonus to what could literally just be a quite good audio play. And that's how I like to think going into these things, is because some things won't work, some things really will, and they work really well. But as long as it sounds good, then that's the main thing. Because I could do the whole monologue like this in a static camera shot, and that would be all right, I guess. But the fact that we add all these other elements onto it is just a bonus, yeah. I don't know if anyone's got anything else to add.
It's interesting also doing it like this. It's a continuous thing, rather than in a lot of theatrical productions you have sort of scenes and then a change of set and then a scene and a scene. But this is happening all the time. There's a tremendous choreography with people moving around with lights and moving props around. It's David and Stephen doing the acting, but actually what you can't see is that around it there's a whole load of people moving things around, trying to avoid getting in shot, avoid throwing shadows onto anything, so they have to remain completely invisible. But they're kind of setting up for the next scene while we're doing stuff. So it's a continuous process rather than a series of bits joined together, if you like.
It's where I'm not in shot, but I'm kind of waiting for it. It's watching everyone maneuver is a show within itself. Just watching how everyone, like the kind of track choreography.
Everyone has to get it exactly right.
It is an ensemble piece.
Everyone that you can't see has to get it right.
Yeah, it is very ensemble-like in that sense. These shows kind of seem like they're a bit of a one-man thing, but a solo show, but actually it's such a huge team effort. And yeah, like you said, the stuff that goes on behind the camera is insane. So no one sat still for more than 1 minute, really. Everyone's got to move and do stuff. Oh yeah, apart from Eddie up in the lighting box, but his fingers.
No, completely. I think it's an extraordinary achievement from not only the team inside the venue now, but to have Duncan managing remotely as well is just, it's an incredible testament to how well we can utilize these new technologies in the space of only a year. And I think Threedumb are absolute trailblazers in this regard. We've got 2 light questions. I'm conscious of the fact that you'll have to get on to setting up for tonight's show. So we've got 2 quick ones just to finish. Another question from Hatter. Have you written for radio?
No, have not. But in terms of recording, because we're a theatre company, we haven't really. The first time we ever did anything in terms of recording was this time last year with the Telltale Heart, and we've just been using a mobile phone. We haven't, and in terms of audio plays, we haven't got the setup for that yet, really. But we're certainly up for, doing audio stuff. But no, I'm not really a writer personally. But yeah, audio stuff could work. Yeah, definitely.
Nice. I'd be very curious to see what you did with the radio play. Like, it's a new medium to explore and have some fun with, and I'm sure there'd be all sorts of tricks and mischief you can get up to. And a final one just to take us home from Samantha. Probably a really dumb question, but what's the story behind the name Threedumb?
You want to take that one, Duncan?
Yeah, we've we've not had someone ask us that in a while, actually. So thank you so much, Samantha, for asking. Yeah, it came out when we were studying at LIPA, and we just formed the company. And the first time we did our first show, we didn't have a name. We weren't a company. This was when we were just at LIPA and just did it in one of our just did it in one of our theatre spaces. And we were like, what do we do? And so there was one of our founding members. There's another guy called Matt, who still is part of Threedumb and helped found the company, but obviously isn't involved in these shows and stuff. And we were just going, right, well, there's three of us. Is there anything we can do off of that? I don't know. And then we just sort of said three. And then I think maybe one of us mentioned freedom or something. We were like, Threedumb, because there's three of us. So
it was it's a bit of we obviously didn't think of the longevity of the name, because in other words, we're three dumb actors just trying it out kind of thing, and now we're 5 years down the line and we're actually like making moves on and we're not really three dumb actors anymore, but it was a play on the word freedom, giving ourselves as actors creative freedom to because speaking for myself, I've never had a job through an agent or an agency. Every bit of professional work that I've had has either been like, through people I know, like Josh. We knew each other before working on Romeo and Juliet, that Josh cast me in. But anything else, it's pretty much been opportunities that we've created through Threedumb Theatre, and therefore giving us stuff to do as actors, creative freedom. So yeah, it's kind of a play on words on the word freedom. But yeah, there's three of us.
Nice. Well, that does the trick. So, well, thank you ever so much for your time this afternoon to, take a bit of time to discuss the Black Cat and break a leg for this evening's performance, the final show. So if you're an attendee for this and you haven't yet seen the show, you're in for a treat tonight. And it's something that will be available on demand, hopefully within the next week, as there's some editing and some cuts that need to be made. So you can enjoy this spectacle all over again. Duncan, Stephen, and the team, thank you so much for your time today, and see you soon. All the best.